Welcome to Coffey Talk, real stories from real people. I'm your host, Kate Coffey Bacon, and every Monday we'll sit down for honest conversations about successes, failures, and the lessons we learn from both. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's talk. Welcome back to Coffey Talk, where we talk about the stories, the lessons, and the conversations that help people to grow. Today, we are exploring one of my favorite themes, what it takes to succeed in a profession that is always changing. My goodness, mine is changing every single day. But specifically, the next generation of consultants and how they show up for customers, for teams, and for themselves. My guest today is Steve Chinsky, a name you know if you've spent any time anywhere in the Microsoft Business Central ecosystem. Steve has built a career at the intersection of business, technology, and people. He brings more than 38 years of experience across manufacturing, supply chain, and finance, and has been part of over 300 Nav and Business Central implementations. What makes Steve's perspective unique is that he didn't start in technology. He came up through accounting and operations, which gives him a deep understanding of how businesses actually run and what they need from their systems. The introduction goes on because he is phenomenal. Steve is a 3-time Microsoft MVP and a longtime leader in the Dynamics community. While Steve is known and sought out for his experience and expertise, he is committed to mentoring and shaping the next generation of consultants. And today, that is exactly what we're talking about. What consulting looks like now, what it's becoming, and what the next generation needs to grow into. Steve, welcome to Coffey Talk.
Thanks, Kate. I'm super excited, everybody. I'm sorry. I know Kate's been doing this for months now, and I've been sitting here going with my cold coffee, and what day will my coffee get hot? And I'm like, Coffee Talk time. Yeah, I got a hot coffee, even though I got a water jug here. So it's pretty much it. But, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited, and thank you for the great intro.
Steve, I think you won the award for the longest intro, and I had to shorten it. There was so much more I wanted to say. And before we even dive into any of this, I want to say a very personal thank you because you came alongside me the second that I put feet on that carpet in this community. And you came alongside me. You have mentored me. You have helped me find my place, find my voice, and I cannot thank you enough. So this is really special to me that you are on my show today. I've been on your show, but now you're on my show. So welcome truly to Coffey Talk.
Thank
All
you.
right, let's dive in. Give us a little bit of context of who you are and how you became this person in the ecosystem.
So who's Steve Chinsky? Prior to coming to our ecosystem, basically I had about 17 and a half years of accounting, working for companies like Pepsi, Amazon, and some other players out there, who've been out there using software as well as, getting involved with manufacturing mostly and supply chain. But really growing myself from public accounting to private accounting. And kind of then one day, one of my mentors that I truly appreciate, he was part of the Federal Reserve in Boston. He basically said, you really need to get out of accounting. He said, you'd be better off consulting with companies. And I'm sitting there thinking like, am I going into like a Price Waterhouse kind of consulting thing? What are you talking about here? So the funny thing is he said, no, go implement ERP and consult and advise customers. People who back then it was Great Plains and then Macola and Computer Associates and all these other softwares that I actually bought when I was an accountant. But he said, go find some software. So ironically enough, I found this weird software called Navision, which wasn't very popular in North America. It was getting there, but it was really super quiet. And I found a position to be a senior consultant to kind of get my feet wet. Over the many years, I've worked with very popular customers, very national, global customers implementing. And I took what I did and I started going crazy. I just started implementing and getting on the road and traveling a lot and meeting great people in all the places that I have, and as well as people like yourself or anybody at other partners. And if people want to implement, and really got involved with community out of the blue. That's what sent me off and running, because then I started speaking, constantly saying, wherever there's a place to speak, I'll speak. If it's a webinar, great, do it then. Or if it's a conference, sure, let me speak at a conference and stuff like that. Truly, the community I rallied around the community to the point where my purpose changed a lot.
Mm.
And my purpose changed to the point where it was like, I know I had a job and I had to implement things and I had to consult, but the purpose really my head started thinking, time is going to pass. 10 years, 20 years. I mean, yes, I'm aging myself, but being in this space since late 1999, um, there's got to be people to replace other people who are
Mhm.
going to move on. And that really gave me a nudge and said, how am I going to do this? How am I going to basically educate people? How am I going to, how am I going to put myself out there? And Steve Chinsky basically just, grew and traveled and spoke a lot and kind of lend his hand out to anybody anybody wanted help. I just said, sure, I'll do it. I don't care. It's not a monetary thing. It's not I need you to be my customer kind of thing, or, as one would say, steal a customer. It was more about that one person who had this one problem, who can't get it solved, and he came to me and I solved it. Or it's that one person who wants to speak at a conference but is scared shitless to do it. And
Right.
it's like, basically, that's what it is. And I just kind of took it upon myself to say, that's going to be a good chunk of my life. And then my job is my life as well. Um, but at the same time, I really just kind of merged the two together and grew and grew and grew. And that's kind of where I'm at today.
That what you just mentioned, like looking around and wondering what is next. There has to be a replacement for these consultants now. That leads us directly into our topic today, and that is what consulting used to be versus what it is now. So, first question for you: what defined a consultant 10 to 15 years ago?
Oh my God. I would say the biggest thing that defined a consultant was, what was your experience? Have you actually played with the software or been in the software? That was key and critical. I mean, you could not be somebody who just left college with liberal arts, let's say, and jumped into consulting. It just wasn't going to happen. I mean, I know, as we were hiring people and all the different partners that I work with, there was always somebody there who's been in the software like 3 to 5 to 10 years, if not more. You had to have a background in business, or at least some business etiquette, business acumen, in the sense that if I was talking to you and you were a controller, an operations manager, a CEO, CFO, just anybody, if I can talk, if you said to me, I need to properly debit and credit XYZ, and I had no idea what you were saying, you'd never last in front of a customer. You'd be shot down. It truly was more meant for the people who had that business knowledge, that whether it be operational knowledge, financial knowledge, manufacturing knowledge, service knowledge, et cetera, but somebody who actually came from industry, who knew something, or at least came from a software that they've implemented before where they had to apply that knowledge. But that was the past. I mean, I know that there was nobody we were hiring that ever came in totally wet behind the ears and green, totally green, like that. When you put them in front of a customer, they had no idea what to do. Very different than today. Totally opposite today, which is probably why the community, the pool of people, I'll call it, the pool is thinning in terms of the expertise, I think, whereby everybody coming into the pool or trying to join the pool is new. They're touching the water, but they can't dive in because that past requirement kind of has gone by this. I think it's gone down by the wayside, meaning how much requirement is needed in terms of business. How much knowledge in the software do you need in the business? I
Mm.
think that's changed dramatically, almost like a 360, I'll call it.
There have been a lot of change. We had changes in technology. I would say we've had changes in customer maturity. And what I mean by that is, knowledge is so readily available for so many people right now. Even in my world, even in marketing, the way that we market is so different. The buyers committee that used to be huge is now so tiny, and we're talking to select people, a very specific people. So, from your lens, what has changed because of technology, that customer maturity, and maybe even a world that's shifting to the cloud? I don't know if that's three-part question, or what your insight is around that.
I would think I'll break it into three tracks in a way. So to me, what has changed dramatically is the whole notion of, can somebody learn to be a consultant? Can you actually learn to be a consultant? I mean, I talk to you, we have a rapport, we talk, we chat, but can you really put yourself in the shoes, get your shoes on, go to a customer and have a knowledgeable, educated conversation in front of a customer about X, about their manufacturing line, or maybe about their financial department, or their accounts receivable, or their customer service, or their CRM, or anything that you as a consultant have to talk about. I think that's changed dramatically. Now, to answer the flip side of that question is, I don't think people have to always have that background. I think that is something you can learn. And the reason I say you can learn, it all depends on the person. And I will say that in the end, no matter what, in any of what we're going to talk about today, you got to really want this. I mean, if you want to learn and learn over time, you can do this. Anybody can do this. I really, truly believe that. Um, and I've seen it face to face. I've actually seen people who've come from a background that had nothing to do with anything. A school teacher got educated to be a consultant, and he's a great consultant today. I've seen people who, in addition to knowing the consulting side, there's the AI portion of it and the web, and learning BC, which is the software that I use. Learning that is pretty easy through the web. You can run a lot of videos. You can have conversations with people, like myself, or meet us at conferences, learn things you don't know about just in our community, running AI, saying, hey, give me all the video links to learn this. And guess what? You can. So I feel funny. I went through a 2-week class just to learn the vision back in my first week. So I had to learn. It took me 2 weeks to learn the software. Now, granted, it was software. It was like software I've done before. But think of somebody who's coming out, who doesn't know what they want to do with a career. You can literally learn all this through YouTube, AI. Again, you can get trained on this, because that's part of where, for me, the biggest change this past 12, 24 months-ish, give or take, is the BC talent process, where they go out and they basically train people who aren't really come from that background per se and want to be great consultants. These are people off the street, or basically anybody you learn who you want to do this. And for me, at first, when I heard about it, I mean, again, I'm old school, so you're going to have to really nudge me and poke me and prod me before I actually want to change my mind. So it did take a while to change my mind, because I've always felt, being so old school, that you have to have your education, you have to have, come from industry, blah, 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 blah. But it's funny. I mean, meeting these people, talking to these people, seeing them at conferences and stuff, to answer your question, the evolution of all of this, of consulting, has just like literally flipped itself on its head.
Goodness.
Because the old days were, it's kind of like, I don't know, really have a great example, but maybe, if I want to find a doctor, okay, who can help me, with my, my eyes, I have to go find an eye doctor, right? But maybe today it might not have to be an eye doctor. It might be somebody who's more complementary in other things, who can still help me out. It's a very poor example, but the point I'm getting at is, it's really flipped on its head. And the fact that, 15 years ago was one way, here in 2026, 2025, it's a completely different way. And the technology that is out there to help you learn is just phenomenal. And it was not around 15, 20 years ago. You had to really come from that, because there were no tools. None of us had tools back then. And only in the last post-COVID years has this ever changed. I mean, look at what we're doing. I mean, pre-COVID, there was very little, we didn't really do much of this, but I mean, we have Teams calls, this, that, and the other thing. But I think what surprised me the most is that the fact that you could be anybody in the world to be a BC consultant. You can. You really can. I don't care if you're the sanitation guy in a school, you're the garbage truck operator, you're a school teacher, you're anybody, a liberal arts person, marketing person. It does not matter anymore, because certain things you can learn over time if you just have the will and you have the want to do it. And the tools are out there, and that you just have to get started, find a way to get started, and work with either people who are offering these learning tools, free of charge, of course, to teach you, to get you involved here, or work with people in the community such as ourselves, who can help you, point you in the right direction, or at least teach you.
So let's get right to the heart of it. We are seeing so much change all around us. You talk about the future state. So this is the big question. This is the heart of this episode of Coffey Talk. What does the next generation of consultants need to be great at?
Oh, wow. I think personally, the next, say, decade of consultants, the group of consultants that are going to come out of the years between now and let's say 5, 10 years from now,
Right.
I think the competency that they're going to be, if obviously for somebody who's going to be an expert or somebody senior most, obviously if they've come out of business, that's a plus no matter what. Because at least if you understand how to talk to somebody in various positions in a company, that gives you a leg up. I mean, it's just a fact.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think if you've never touched software before, ERP software before, I think that you can learn over time. I really truly believe that with the proper education and the proper tool set. Um, I think you have to have a will. I think you have to have a fire in the belly to want to be somebody who comes to work every day, who can sit in their basement, okay, and do work, maybe implementing software, asking questions about how to set up software. You have to have kind of like what's the good word I'm looking for? Almost like the patience as well as um the interest to kind of learn business.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that because obviously I think new consultants will not come from out of a business school mechanism. I think I'd love to see them, don't get me wrong here. I think that gives them a leg up. But I think anybody can come in, I don't care if you were a clerk in McDonald's, okay? And you really wanted to change your career and you said, "Oh, this sounds fascinating to me. I can go meet many different customers around the world and do this and that and implement their software." You can learn all that. How to speak to somebody, that's something one can learn. How
Yeah.
to ask the right questions, I can learn that. Basically, to sit down and have a good conversation, it's all something one can learn over time. And the reason being is you just have to have the right people behind you. And as long as you're willing to take a chance and you want to do this, I think the next group of consulting competency is going to come from anybody who's got the heart and mind to do it, who's willing to learn and take the time to learn. And it might take time, might take a year, might take a year and a half. I don't know. But as long as you're willing to learn, and I'm not saying you can make $1 million doing it in the beginning, but over time you will get better and better. And you find the right people that can be your mentors or find the right people you can talk to. Like I said, not everybody knows accounting. We all go, I mean, some people go to college, some people, don't go to college. But the point here is, there is certain verbiage that you learn when you go to college, accounting and you come out of business. You can learn that. Everybody can learn that. You can have a non-accounting 101 class. You can learn, you can find those. Um, yes, if you don't want to be in manufacturing, which is complex, great. But if you do, there's plenty of sessions to learn what does manufacturing mean, plenty of books to read and stuff like that. I mean, there's plenty of books on the software that are out there. And like I said, I think going to conferences, getting involved, is really, it's going to be key. So, I mean, from a competency standpoint, in conclusion, I mean, I think it's going to be the person's got to have a will to want to do this. This is a career for people who want to basically, sometimes you're in the basement doing work. Sometimes you're in front of a customer. You and I are talking face to face. Do I get nervous speaking to people if I'm speaking to somebody like a big wig? If I'm very timid and that's not my thing, maybe this is not for you. But again, everything's in today's day and age, it's all something you can learn. I cannot believe the fact that the amount of classes that are out there to teach somebody how to be a consultant, it blew my mind that you can learn all this stuff. And again, some of it's all free to some extent. So I think anything's possible to take somebody who wants to take that opportunity to change their career, to kind of get into something completely different from what they're doing today, have a lot of fun in it. There's always going to be fun in this. Trust me, I love meeting all my customers. I love meeting the businesses. Some of them are amazing and crazy. To me, it's just fascinating that all of this is learning and the competencies you can learn to make you come from nowhere to be that average consultant you want to be in life. And really, it's possible.
So I'm going to add to my question, and we'll talk about communication and how much our communication has changed. You mentioned it with COVID and how COVID changed everything, and now we rely so much on our video calls. We'll talk about that in just a second. I'm going to put a pin in it. But taking my question to you a little bit deeper, and I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but I want to explore it more. Functional versus technical literacy. How much of each should our new consultants be bringing to the job?
I would say I'm going to start with technical. So I'm not a technical person. I mean, I'm a functional guy, meaning I take care of the processes that happen. How do you go from A to B? How do you do XYZ in the software? Or maybe how do you solve a problem? So I'm very functional. Technical, meaning let's call it from the programming aspect of it. So if you're going to be a programmer, obviously, if you've never been a programmer before, I highly recommend you go take a lot of classes, find a find a school that does, maybe gives you a class on programming in Visual Studios and some other things like that. Don't come in here blind to be a technical person. If you're going to be a functional person, you don't need much technical. I will say over time, you're going to learn a little technical. And let me explain what I mean. Now, we all know AI. It's coming around. So you're going to learn a lot of maybe technical pieces of that, how it works, how it functions. Obviously, Power BI. I'm not saying I'm a Power BI writer, but you're going to learn how to do Power BI on your own. You can learn these, and they're all free to learn there. You just go out there and learn all this stuff using the web and YouTube and stuff like that. But the big thing from a functional standpoint to me, I think if you're going to want to do this, at least take the opportunity to go start looking at it. Don't sit there and wait to, don't throw yourself into the pond and let all the functional learning come from the learning sessions. You can try to find or communication between people in the community and what. Go and run all of the videos. Just learn it. Go run the functional to see how functionally it works. Maybe go and take a couple of videos and talk just somebody who talks about just business acumen or basically what does manufacturing mean? Manufacturing 101, what does it mean? Learn some of this anyway. You're going to learn it if you go through like BC Talent and some other things, but go out and learn all this. I don't think you have to come with like 40% functional in your brain cell or 50%. If you do have that, you're a superstar. You're already starting in the superstar realm because if you already know business, if you've come from business, if you've worked in business, you're bringing that much to the table that somebody else who doesn't have know it. But if you're coming totally free, free and clear, joining for the very first time functionally, I think you should go and start learning this and at least get 10%-ish under your belt. And that's just from learning from videos and whatnot. At least something you can talk, at least have a conversation with me that talks about dimensions. Okay, no, understand the word. Okay, at least know something about what I'm, about to talk about. Or if I say, how do you set up a wire? At least know something a little bit about what it means. It's only going to put you in a better light, I think. You'll learn it over time as well. But if you can at least take a chance and go learn some of this on your own, you're only going to be that better off.
We've already mentioned that a lot of our customers now are remote. How can our new consultants, our junior consultants, be customer ready when our customers are remote and distracted?
Wow. I will tell you, it is tough for even the most senior people. Look, I mean, everybody's remote. You set up Teams calls, you try your best to have a call, like we're having a call in a way, to chat with them, to go over things. And in the background is noise. You can hear all the noise, somebody yelling, hey, John, blah, 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 and you're like, they're being distracted. I think somebody who's never been around it before is going to freak out. I truly believe that. I mean, for the first time, you're going to be like the apple cart just crashed and you don't know how do you pick up the apples quietly or get yourself back in order. It is something that truly is a learning event. I truly believe no customer is ever going to have that perfect Teams call remotely because they cancel on you sometimes because they're too busy, and then it upsets your process and you're like all flustered. When you have a call and there's distractions and everything, that also creates flusters. But I truly believe this is where a mentor, somebody who could sit with you going through this process, is where you learn the best. This is how you develop yourself. You have to develop yourself with somebody by your side. Throughout the process, you need that. I hate using it. You need somebody at your hip, connected at your hip, so to the point where as you're going through things and you can ask those questions along the way, you can almost tag team back and forth during these learning events. So if you don't know what to do, and if that person who's more educated knows what to do, they can actually jump in and say, you know what, let me deal with this or something like that. Or they'll take over the call maybe to let you subside or whatever it is to kind of bring things back, But again, without that mentorship, without that learning experience, it's not going to help anybody. It's almost like setting somebody into a boat with no oars, setting them out to sea, and they'll never get back to shore because how do they know what to do? But if you had somebody who knew what to do, they would have brought the oars. They know how to row. This is what we do. We point it to the shore. We go to the shore. Um, but for me personally, the best way to develop the person remotely is to you basically make sure that you you kind of work together with your senior person, your mentor and stuff like that. Um, and then also when they travel, if they physically have to travel
Mm,
on site, so they
mhm.
physically have to go somewhere. This is something that is probably so new to them. They've never done it before in their lifetime. Um, you do not send anybody out on their own. It's that's so wrong. It's like a it's a definitely something you should never do. Anybody who's new, who's never done it before, travel with them the first few times. Let them see how you have that rapport with the customer. Let them learn from your emotions or basically how you communicate and have conversations about certain subjects. You can't learn anything unless you see it happen face to face. And everybody who's a new consultant, I know they want to learn. I know they really do. But that rapport, that information, it's like $1 million. And to see it happen, that only is going to get soaked up into their brain so that the next time it happens, they're going to run the meeting, not me. I'll sit in the back, twiddling my thumbs, taking some notes maybe, but I'll be so happy. I'm like, holy smokes, this person's a genius. And they really took off on things I taught them.
Yeah. I'm seeing I'm seeing a lot of that. I'm seeing the soft skills and business context matter as much as proficiency in product, proficiency in software, knowledge. We have a new hire at UST, Cole Crookie, and I'm so excited to introduce him to the community. He has asked me so many really great questions throughout the interview process. We actually brought him to Community Summit for part of his interview. He had a working interview. He went to Community Summit with us. We wanted to see those soft skills in action. We are deeply a relational community, and we wanted to see how quickly he could acclimate and be a part of the community. And I needed can't you can't sit on the other side of a screen and tell me how you do that. I need to see it. So
See, that's funny.
we yeah,
I mean, that right there and says so much about our conversation today. You interviewed somebody, and of course they had a resume, and I'm sure you knew what they were all about, but you brought them to a place completely wet behind the ear, threw
yep.
them into the pond and said, "Go."
Let's see
And
what you got.
let's see what
Yeah,
you got. And think about it. That's great. I mean, I'm sure he's got skills and obviously you liked him, you hired him. But when I think about all the possible consultants that are out there, so many diverse backgrounds, so many anything. I mean, yes, you can learn the software any day of the week. Yeah, sure. I mean, it'll take time to become an expert, but you'll learn it all over time and you'll figure that out. But the skills you need to actually have a human conversation with a company
yeah,
and the people in the company goes much further than just because I can tell you where to click in the software. I
right.
mean, it does because it's that rapport that you have to keep that relationship going, or else, if they don't like you, they're going to leave you. They're going to leave the partner. So this is where it all starts. It starts at the core and then it works out. So you are right.
Yeah. One of the questions that Cole asked me in our interview process, he asked me what kind of leader I was. And I was like, well, that's a great question. Thankfully, I've been doing a lot of prep. I'm about to go through a leadership course, and I'd actually done some prep. So I had an answer for him. And my answer for him was, I am a come and sit with me leader. So come and sit with me. And just to your point, see how I'm doing it. I'm a mentor as a leader, but I'm also going to give you um the runway to go and do it your way. I'm going to show you how I do it, but then it's my job to hand you the baton and let you take it and make everything that I'm doing even better. So question for you, where did you learn those unteachable pieces? So the rapport, the listening, the presence, because you are so good at it.
It's funny. Um, in my early days after I left college, I was thrown into the most amazing thing any human being could ever be offered in their life. Um, I got involved with uh, a company in which they did an LBO and an IPO. So they did a leverage buyout and then they went public. And they did it in 3 years. So having been thrown into a major pond with such an amazing amount of things that had to be done in a very short period of time, I got to talk to people and I got to learn from the VPs of finances, the controllers of the world that were out there, even the president, because obviously getting involved with presidents and outside parties that were part of, people who did funding, who, basically capital funding. So I got to meet people. Never would have thought in my lifetime out of college I would ever meet in my. I would think it would be like 20 years before I met the big, the big cheeses of the world, the famous names or anything like that. And I got to learn from all of them, and it was
Mm,
pretty amazing. They gave me some great constructive criticism. There was never any, holy God, none of like this. It was more constructive in the sense like do it this way or change your this way or change it that way, maybe. And as I went from that, and then I started again branching myself out to get more, be on the road with, other companies that I worked for in the early days. I met somebody who ended up being obviously the VP of the company I worked for. He became one of my mentors. He ended up working for the Federal Reserve in the end, and he became a big mentor of mine in terms of like where to go, people to know, and stuff like that. So that it just helped me just knowing the people I grew up with. It sounds so weird. It's like you grow up with all these people, and for me, in this almost 28-year community I've kind of lived, it's kind of like this I have a huge family. And that's
mhm.
what it is. It's like every year somebody's born or every year somebody shows up and whatnot. And, you make friends everywhere you go. But in my early days, prior to this, yeah, it came from probably my first two jobs out of school. Um, they put me into a light that I never thought was possible. I even started public speaking probably my third job because one of the companies I work for, we had to have, people they got together, not a board, not like a board meeting or anything like that. I've spoken at board meetings before, but more of where they bring the ownership gets together and they bring in other people. And I spoke about some of the software things that are going on in the business. So, it was amazing. I mean, I'm so thankful for everything in my past. I'm super thankful that everything has happened to me in the last umpteen years.
Yeah,
And I'm more thankful for all the people yet to come
right.
because those are the people I can teach and do something with and have fun with them and kind of go to town, and stuff like that. But that's how I started. And it's kind of never left me.
Yeah. So if someone is listening and they want to become a consultant that is trusted, that is valued, we're going to give some takeaways. What are the three top things they should be doing to start working on that today?
I think if you're going to go with three top takeaways, I would to become a successful BC consultant or a consultant, especially in our community. I think the first thing to do is um, connect with somebody. Connect with somebody in the community just to start asking general questions, whether it be five people connect with, whether it be two, one, it does not matter. Reach out, find out what's going on, find out how they got involved, and find out what it takes, find out what their backgrounds are and stuff like that. Start watching, start Googling the product just to even get to know what you're about to get into in terms of the
Mm,
software. Super important. I think third is doing some education. I mean, whether you have never come out of business, go out and sign up to do things like BC Talent and sign up to get educated by them and join their program. They'll teach you, I believe, free of charge. Reach out to other people, myself, anybody who can point you in that direction of getting to learn something. Go, find, Google the word, what is financial management for dummies or something like that. Think about it. I mean, I know it's a twist on words, but it's very popular. You can find a lot of education prior to getting involved. Um, but I think the most important one out of those three would probably be reach out to people you know. Reach out to anybody you've heard on the web, in a webinar, in a podcast, and anything. Just reach out to them and just say, "Hey, I'm kind of curious. This is what I do, and this is my background. Do you think it's worth it for me to join? Get into your side, um, and stuff like that." I super believe in my heart of hearts, um, that talking to people who've come from our world and pointing them in the right direction, we can give them the right guidance, the right mentorship, and that way they have the tool sets to kind of take it as far as they want to take it from there. And that to me, is gold.
I would add one thing to that, and I agree with you completely on all three of your points, especially on mentorship. I would add one thing to that, and that is to approach this this career, any career, any career you're looking at right now with an open growth mindset. because whether you are 6 months into your career, 3 decades into your career is your classroom, and you have to be continually learning. Steve, you and I, before I hit record, we're talking about change and how we have to stay up to date, current with the changes, because it's changing. Everything is changing
It,
so quickly. So that's the only thing I would add, is going into it with that growth mindset of you're never going to learn it all. There's
no,
always going to be something else.
it's impossible. I mean, I look at the last 5 years, the evolution of the product, the industry, the community, the world, and it's impossible to learn it all. I don't even want to learn it all. In fact, I mean, I need my downtime. I mean, I need a work-life balance. And it's funny. I mean, I just don't have. There are times I want to, get involved. Look, oh, this sounds so fascinating. Oh my God, it's like I love it. It's like, where am I going to find time? I can't do anything in life. I can't even eat dinner on time.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think the future is going to be so amazing for everybody joining now who wants to come into our community. I think it's going to be fascinating for everybody in our community. And I think it's going to be an amazing thing 5 to 10 years from now, where all of this that we're all on this horizontal thing, where AI and some of these other things are coming into play, where it's going to be 5 to 10 years from now.
Steve, thank you for always pouring into this community. You are such a source of wisdom and experience, and always open to teach. If someone is listening and wants to find you, where can they find you?
They can find me on LinkedIn. Just look up Steven Chinsky. You'll find me. You'll see this face sitting smack at you. You can always go to YouTube and type in BC3 Amigos. We do a podcast every month on the Business Central product. You can always reach me out there. There's an email to reach out to me. Or you can just send me an email anytime you want at schinsky@llconsultingservices.com. You can always reach out to me, and you'll find me somewhere. Trust me. I'm always somewhere at a conference or somewhere, but those 3 venues, you can find me pretty quick.
Absolutely. I'll link all of these sources in the show notes. Please follow along with Steve. Steve, you truly invest in the ecosystem in ways that maybe we don't see, but we absolutely feel. So friends, until next time, keep being curious, stay open to growing, seeing, living, learning, feeling new things, and we'll chat next time. Thank you for joining us today on Coffey Talk. A special thanks to my guests for sharing their story, and to you, the listener, for being a part of this conversation. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe so you never miss a Monday morning chat. Until next time, I'm Kate Coffey Bacon, and this has been Coffey Talk.